Kim Ja-hung died after jumping off the burning building while saving a child. The two guardians, Haewon-mek and Lee Duk-chun, escorted him into the gate of the afterlife, where he met his third guardian, Gang-rim, where they will escort and defend Kim Ja-hung in 7 trials within 49 days. If he passes, he will be reincarnated, and his guardians will be given credit towards their own reincarnation. In the first court, Hell of Murder, Ja-hung is tried for the death of his colleague, who was trapped beneath rubble during a fire, accusing him of indirect murder by leaving his colleague to save his own life. The god of murder orders the guardian Gang-rim to start his defense. It is revealed that his colleague told him to prioritize the civilians. After rescuing 8 others, Ja-hung attempted to go back for his colleague, only to be held back as the building collapsed. The god of murder acquits Ja-hung in his case of indirect murder. In the second court, Hell of Indolence, Ja-hung's guardians presented his selflessness and diligence. But when the god of indolence asked him why he did it, Ja-hung blurted out that he only worked for money, and when he was about to be punished, Gang-rim interjected, saying that the money was to support his brother and ailing mother, not for his own interest. The god of indolence finds him not guilty. On the way to the Hell of Deceit, a hell ghoul attacked them, which means one of his immediate family members have died and became a vengeful spirit. Gang-rim put Duk-chun in charge of continuing their journey while he went to the living world and investigated what happened. He later found out that Ja-hung's brother, Kim Soo-hung, had died with a grudge. Meanwhile, back in the afterlife, the king of the underworld, King Yomra, ordered to eliminate the vengeful spirit or he would go personally to the living world. In the Hell of Deceit, Kim Ja-hung is being accused of giving false hope to the daughter of his colleague who died. In which, during his first trial, he is accused of indirect murder. He writes 98 fake letters to give false hope, as the judge presented them to the goddess of deceit. When Kim Ja-hung is about to get punished for being silent, Gang-rim initiated a link between him and Duk-chun and started their final defense. Gang-rim explained that Kim Ja-hung also writes a fake letter to his mother, and that letter makes his mother overcome her incurable illness. The same goes for the child, who also overcame the loss of her father. The goddess of deceit dismissed all charges against him and let him proceed to the next trial. On the way to the Hell of Justice, Kim Ja-hung confessed that the reason for wanting to talk to his mother was the rice cooker he bought and the letter inside of it. Later, Gang-rim appeared and lied to Kim Ja-hung that his mother and brother were alive and well. Then he told the other 2 guardians that his brother died and had become a vengeful spirit, and he would investigate further. Gang-rim went back and witnessed the time Soo-hong was accidentally shot while on guard duty by his partner, Dong-yeon. Meanwhile, Kim Ja-hung learned that he would pass through the hells of injustice and betrayal without trial because he was a paragon. In the living world, Gang-rim realized that Soo-hong is still alive, and the reason for Soo-hong's grudge was not against Ja-hung, but rather against Dong-yeon and Park for burying him alive. One night, out of guilt, Dong-yeon goes to Soo-hong's house and throws a map where there is a mark where they buried Soo-hong. That same night, Dong-yeon went back to their camp and tried to commit suicide, but Soo-hong asked Gang-rim to save him in exchange for his cooperation. In the Hell of Violence, Ja-hung is tried for indiscriminately beating Soo-hong when they were younger while the latter was suffering from malnutrition. The god of violence is curious why the case is tied to the final trial. The judge explained that no apology happened and Kim Ja-hung left the house and never returned for 15 years until his death, which is why there's no record of forgiveness. When he was about to get sentenced, Gang-rim ordered Duk-chun to request a combined trial, and if Kim Ja-hung was found guilty, he would receive a double punishment and his guardian would be stripped of their privileges in the afterlife. Gang-rim and Soo-hong arrive at the army base, only to witness his mother's shabby treatment at the hands of Park. Enraged, Soo-hong transforms back into a vengeful spirit and lashes out at the base by conjuring up a massive tornado, only stopping when he realizes how his actions are affecting Ja-hong in the afterlife. At the Hell of Filial Impiety, Ja-hong is immediately judged guilty by King Yomra. Duk-chun tried to defend him by saying his mother is unconscious, so there is no victim. King Yomra shows them the Mirror of Karma, in which he learns that on the night of his attempted murder-suicide, his mother was actually awake and had decided to allow it, knowing that she was a burden on her family. Devastated, Kim Ja-hong begs King Yomra to let him see his mother to apologize. But King Yomra blurted out that he had given him plenty of time for 15 long years. Soo-hong, with the help of Gang-rim and Haewon-mek, enters his mother's dream dressed up like a judge and tells her that she cannot go to the camp anymore because he is a judge now in the afterlife. King Yomra and the judge in the afterlife felt the mother's love for her 2 sons, even Gang-rim and Haewon-mek showed emotional tears. All of them learned that she had already forgiven Ja-hong for that night. Since sins that have been forgiven in the living world are not allowed to be judged in the afterlife, Ja-hong is allowed to reincarnate. Afterward, Gangrim realizes that King Yomra had been meddling with his investigation of Suhong. He decides to confront King Yomra directly and chooses Suhong as the group's final soul before their own reincarnation. Guardian Gangrim requests the approval of Suhong's trial and shows King Yomra the notice of death that shows Suhong is a paragon, and his death is not an accident. He vows to uncover the truth about this. And despite the objection of the prosecutors that his death was an accident, King Yomra agrees to have a trial for Suhong on the condition that within 49 days of his trial, Heo Chunsam's soul must ascend in the afterlife. Haewonmak and Deokchun immediately go to the living world and find the household god Songju. In his previous life, Songju was a painter, and now he has turned this redevelopment town into his private gallery. Meanwhile, in the afterlife, Gangrim chooses only 3 trials for Suhong based on the law of the afterlife that a paragon suspected of an unjust death can choose only the applicable trial. Haewonmak and Deokchun try to get the soul of Heo Chunsam but Songju stops them. Unmatched with the strength of the household god, they beg for his forgiveness and later find out that Songju knows their past lives. They struck a deal with Songju to help the child when his grandfather was gone. In return, Songju must tell them everything he knows about them. Songju agrees to the proposal and starts telling them about their past. Haewonmak is the fiercest warrior of the Goryeo dynasty. And his enemy called him White Wildcat because he always wore a white wildcat fur scarf, and he defended the northern border. While they are in the orphanage, Songju sees that Deokchun has never changed after 1,000 years. Songju told Deokchun her past. When the Goryeo soldier attacked the Jurchen village, she hid all the children to safety, and she became the children's hope and their mother for 3 long years. And she died at the age of 18. Meanwhile, Gangrim told his story to Suhong. His father is a general of Goryeo's special army. A brave and sympathetic leader who has everyone's respect and trust under his command, Gangrim's father is also a thoughtful and humane father. But everything changed when his father adopted an orphan from the village of the enemy. Gangrim noticed that his father favored his adopted brother more than him. In the living world, Haewonmak asks how he met Deokchun. Songju said that when Deokchun is looking for food, Haewonmak saves her from a tiger but takes her prisoner and forces her to go to their camp. Upon seeing that all of them are children, he cooks the tiger to feed them and warns Deokchun not to come to the south anymore. Gangrim continues to tell his story to Suhong. His father took his brother to the fiercest battle against the Jurchens instead of him. That was the last time he saw his father. 50,000 of his men died during the battle, including his father. After his father's death, he is appointed the new general of their army, and he sends his adopted brother to defend the southern borders. Meanwhile, Haewonmak learns that his superior, Milgnag, is the one who sent him on an assignment to the southern border. Deokchun learned from Songju's story that Haewonmak was responsible for her parents' deaths when he attacked their village, killing everyone. The next day, Deokchun is angry with Haewonmak for not apologizing to her when she was still alive. Songju stops them and continues their story. Haewonmak tortured himself with guilt for killing Deokchun's parents, not because he didn't want to apologize but because he didn't have the courage to do so. Knowing he can't be with the children forever, Haewonmak teaches them how to hunt so they can live on their own. He became the guardian angel of the Jurchen children, but he failed to serve his country, paying little attention to patrolling the border. He spared little ration for the children, continued writing fake reports to Milgnag, and became a traitor to his country. In the Injustice Hell, Gangrim summons the soul of Private One to stand witness in trial. But he ran out of time, and before he could answer Gangrim's question he vanish and die. Unable to obtain any evidence, the god of injustice decides to let Suhong continue to his next trial. Meanwhile, the demolition crew breaks the pot of Songju, but before Songju dies, he continues to tell the 2 guardians about their past. Milgnag arrives and learns about his treachery. He was able to escape and warn Deokchun that Milgnag was coming. Haewonmak asked if Milgnag killed him, but Songju is already gone. In the Hell of Violence, Gangrim asks to withhold the ruling until the murder hell trial. And he will forfeit his own reincarnation. The god of violence asks for his conditions. Gangrim wants to summon Lieutenant Park and King Yomra as witnesses in the murder hell trial. On the way, Suhong asks Gangrim what in his memory that he's so desperate to erase, and at the same time, Haewonmak and Deokchun also learn that Gangrim is the person who killed both of them in their previous life. During the last trial of Suhong, Gangrim intended to make Lieutenant Park realize the suffering and pain he endured for over a millennium for letting his father die on the battlefield. And now he is giving Lieutenant Park a chance to admit that he knew Suhong was still alive when they buried him. Not wanting to suffer like Gangrim, Lieutenant Park admits his crime and asks Suhong for forgiveness. The god of murder concludes that Kim Soo-hong had an untimely and wrongful death and must reincarnate immediately. Sometime later, the three guardians come to take Hyo Chun-sam's soul, but they decide to wait until the boy has finally graduated. Thank you for watching movie quotes and recaps. And for more videos, please hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell.